Yep, they're there now. Awesome.
Are they? Can
Hell
you tell?
yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, I see it now.
Yep,
So,
they're there now. Awesome.
oh Jesus Christ.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
We gotta shut them.
Oh Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah.
We gotta shut them.
I'm dead. Amazing. Excellent. That was hilarious.
No, but is it still on?
No, it's not on anymore.
The
There we go. The music is fine because now it is. There we go. Okay.
And
so
the mics are working.
yeah, mics are totally working because that came from the stream that I had pulled up on the desktop.
I see.
Yes. So it wouldn't be a little dicey D&D if we didn't start off with some sort of technical malfunction. I will do that entire intro again, but sort of condensed. My name is Salvador Sabraca. I am the Dungeon Master here at A Little Dicey D&D. I use he/him pronouns. Sounds like someone's
That'll
here.
be Alex.
Wonderful. I use he/him pronouns. And if you're not familiar with Dungeons & Dragons, I am the Dungeon Master. So I basically am the entirety of the game. My players will play as their characters, and I will react to them. I will be every name, place, person, villain that they interact with, and it's going to be a really wonderful game. If you're just tuning in tonight, I said this earlier when I was muted, but this is going to be a sort of half episode situation. We might be playing for about perfect. We might be playing for about an hour, maybe a little over, a little under. Who knows, because we had to redo this introduction, so that's totally fine. But this is going to be a special little one-on-one with myself and Jenna. If you tuned in last week, or the week prior to that, you would notice that she was unfortunately absent. She was on a wonderful little vacation, but she is now here with us. I had spirited away her character during the session, and this is the sort of little interim story to get her up to date and get her character Taj back into the thick of things. So, usually we introduce ourselves. We did an introduction earlier, and you saw us pantomime that without sound and everything, so no worries at all. But Jenna, if you'd like to introduce yourself as well.
Sure. I'm Jenna. I play Taj. Taj is a royal, or kind of an ex-royal, got kicked out of their parents' kingdom for dating effectively a known criminal, and has been adventuring ever since with a series of friends. Taj is an Aasimar, so we've got that amazing celestial blood running through us, and their whole aesthetic is just everything gold. Their hair is gold, their skin's gold, they're sparkly, they're beautiful. You can tell that I'm using they, them pronouns because gender is something that in my head does not exist for Taj, or maybe for all Aasimars. So that's Taj. I love them, and I want them to keep living through today's episode.
Me too.
Thank you.
Just as a reminder, Jenna,
Yes.
try to watch your left hand. I am in frame. No worries, though. We do like to talk with our hands. We're very expressive people, wonderful performers and everything. But just for this once, and for the foreseeable future, if you could watch that, no problem.
Keep them over here.
Sure. Also, just to bring attention to it, so it's not just like a weird thing for all three of us in the room, Alex is also in the room with us. He's going to be behind the camera right now. Once we start in around 6:30 later this evening in our full usual game, he will be joining us in this at a seat at the table as well. But he's going to be running chat for the time being. So thank you, Alex. It's good to see you, by the way, buddy. Yeah. All right. That all being said, I think I'm all set to play. Do you have any questions before we begin, Jenna?
No.
Alrighty. Then, Taj, you find yourself out a little ways away from your companions within the Whispering Wood, gathering miscellaneous supplies in order to help camouflage the horse-drawn cart that you all have been using to traverse the trade routes and forests of the Tenlands ever since escaping Emershaw. Ever since traversing deeper into the Whispering Wood, you've sworn you keep seeing figures just outside of your line of sight, here and there, or maybe you hear whispers just behind you. Some of your companions have brought attention to these things as well, but nothing has revealed themselves yet. As you unsheath one of your utility daggers to begin cutting some smaller, lower branches, you swear you hear another one of those creeping sounds about you. I would like you to make a perception check with advantage.
Oh, good thing it's with advantage. 8.
8. Wonderful. And then probably just for the best, if you want to shift those over to the left side of yourself.
This is the right side of myself,
Perfect.
but I agree with you.
Oh, yes, my left, your right, of
Yes.
course. You said 8.
I did.
Got you. You did with that with advantage?
I did.
Got it. Okay.
There's a 5 and then an 8.
All right, perfect. You don't have any bonus to your perception?
No. It's a +0. Isn't that sad?
You sure?
My passive perception rocks. My-
How are you sure?
My regular perception has a +0.
Interesting. What is your wisdom?
My wisdom? +0.
Your wisdom is 10.
Oh, sorry. Well, yeah. No, it's 11.
It's 11, and yet you have a 15 passive perception.
Yeah, because I took that feat.
Ah, yes, of course. Gotcha. Okay, just making sure that you weren't missing anything.
I'm so observant and yet
yes.
not perceptive.
Super observant. Understandable. Alrighty. Well then, you start to sort of saw away at this branch, and you still hear that sort of odd whisper behind you, and every once in a while, instead of a whisper, you feel it sort of start to almost turn into... Can't be music. It's... Is it music? You're uncertain. There's a sound. It's almost as if it's just behind you. And you turn around, nothing's there. But it's permeating these woods around you. And it's almost as if it's coming from the trees themselves. What do you do?
Can I take a closer look at the trees directly behind me?
Sure, give me an investigation check.
I will. Whew. That one's better.
Sure.
That's gonna be a 20. A dirty 20.
Wonderful. So, as you set your knife down, you sort of look around, and you stand up, and you turn around, and you notice that there's a much larger, older tree around, just behind you than the rest that sort of surround you here in the Whisperwood. And as you sort of notice this large, old tree, you almost quickly realize that you almost don't recognize where you are. It's as if, as you sort of focused in for a moment on this lower branch that you were cutting with your dagger, until you looked up, you don't necessarily recognize this place, even though you just sort of stopped to bend down and figure this out. But this tree is certainly there in front of you. And as you move closer and you touch the bark of this tree and you sort of try to ascertain if this sound is emanating from the tree itself, you begin to hear the sound definitively more from weird to the plucking and playing of lute strings. And it's a familiar song. It's the same song that you remember hearing when you first ran into your cousin here in these woods.
I can tell where it's coming from.
Seems like it's coming from the tree.
Can I climb the tree?
Certainly. Give me a acrobatics or athletics check.
Oh, I'll do acrobatics. Oh, yeah. That's gonna be real good. That's like a 28.
28.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly. As you begin to sort of leap from a small little sort of stub of branches that seemingly have either been broken off or fallen off with how ancient this large tree is, you begin to hop up and grab onto the sort of jagged bits of bark that allow you to vault yourself forward. And as you begin to sort of wind around to the other side, you've made it about 10 feet up, and you notice now the sound is coming from below you.
Damn it. I'm going back down.
Okay. You head
I'm
back
finding
down.
the sound.
As you begin to head back down, you sort of instinctively look behind you where your feet are to mark where you're going, and you can see the sort of forehead and the crown of the draping hair that sort of wisps just around the figure of Tirawo just under you, sitting on the other side of the tree, playing his lute, looking up at you.
Were you there when I came up the tree?
I've been here all this time. You failed to look on the other side of this tree.
I'm pretty sure Sorry. I didn't step on you, right?
No, don't worry. All is well. Would you join me down here?
On the branch?
Yes, it's rather sturdy.
I will swing down and
As
join.
you do, you sort of land just next to him, and it the branch sort of shakes for a little bit, but he doesn't seem to move or react too much. It's almost as if he follows the motion of the branch. And he just sort of comes to a very dull, sort of very light and lithe sound that he plays on his lute. Very, very, very soft sounds just to sort of underscore this conversation. Trying to draw as least amount, the least amount of attention that he could possibly draw to himself in this moment. And he says, "Do things seem to be going well?"
I guess that depends on your definition. It's been a long time since things have gone really well.
Sure.
But what you did for us after Roscoe passed along was really important and helpful. And thank you for that whole moment.
It's the least I could do in the moment. I have a proposition for you, cousin.
A proposition?
Yes. What you had told me about this assailant, Nemesio, troubled me greatly. When I had left you, I searched about these woods. I asked around. I believe I have found this assailant.
He's still in the woods.
These are a vast, vast forest.
Is Ophelia with him?
She is, as far as I can tell.
And she's okay? She's alive.
As far as I can tell. If you could see her here and now, would you go to her?
Yes, of course. That's the first thing I've been trying to do it for months.
He stops playing and he sets his lute aside on the branch, just laying across the actual trunk of the tree. Well, that settles that. If I recall, you've always had a bit of a, how should I put this? Gusto about you. It is not my place to get in between you and whatever this situation is. So, should I bring you to see her or whatever else it would be that you would do, you must use foresight in your actions. I will do my best to guide you or aid you, but these will be your choices, as they must be.
You have powers I don't understand. I don't know what you're going to do.
Well, I can take you to her. And the woods, they are in quite an interesting mood. I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to fully protect you from the influence of them around you, but if you stay near me, I can guard you from the worst of it.
But will Nemesio be there?
Nemesio will be there. You will only be able to see from afar.
I see. He won't know that we're there.
Well, as far as I can ascertain, you're rather good at being hidden, staying out of sight, yes?
Yes.
Then I don't see why not.
That's perfect. I wouldn't want to put anyone in more danger by going there, but if we can stay hidden.
My dear, you would only be putting yourself in further danger if you did anything too reckless.
Well, I've never done a reckless deed in my life, so.
Well, looks like you got me there. It's settled then. Shall we go?
Yes.
He stands up and he holds his hand out, grabs your hand, and he touches the bark of the tree.
Of the Alex tree.
Of the Alex tree. And the bark cracks and peels away. And in sort of just a small little archway in this large ancient tree, a doorway forms itself around Wode's hand. And you can see just the effervescent essence of greens and browns and shimmering silvers just sort of coalescing in this doorway. And he says, "Stay close to me." And he pulls you forward and you stride through the tree. As you pass forward there, you arrive on the other side, sort of in another clearing, also in a completely different part of this woods that you are not familiar with at all. Almost not necessarily causing you whiplash or anything, but like just the quickness of this pace of travel and everything, it almost leaves you slightly nauseous for a moment, but it subsides. Woad sort of pats you on the back. Tree striding can be taxing, but you're doing well. Like I said, stay close to me. He is near. And he points his finger just off to the east. And as you turn to look, you see through the trees the lumbering figure of the tousled raven hair swaying about one side, as the other you see slung over his shoulder the unconscious body of Ophelia. He's just sort of slowly trotting through the woods, every once in a while bracing himself on a tree. Sort of, you can tell he's labored by this. As you see Ophelia's sort of head slung over his shoulder with her blonde hair sort of draped over her face, I would like you to make a wisdom saving throw with advantage.
Oh god, it's a 5.
5.
Oh my god.
When you see her blonde hair draped over her face, you hear in the back of your mind whispers again. And instead of this unintelligent sort of mass of sound, it forms itself into the whimpering, beaten form of Ophelia's voice, soft and piercing, and all you hear in the back of your head is, "You couldn't save me." And you feel a sharp sort of pain immediately in the back of your head as you feel and you see Wode's face sort of grab the back of your neck and put it right in front of your face, and he says, "Focus on the reality of what you see."
You can hear that, right?
Yes, I can. The woods are fickle tonight.
You talk about the woods like they have a brain.
They don't have a brain, they have a spirit.
What do they have against me?
They don't have anything against you. It's just their mood. It's the way of things. I'm sorry, but you are volatile, and they're taking advantage of that. You have to focus.
Okay.
Breathe. He lets go of your hair. Look again. You look again, and you see now Nemesio sort of slings Ophelia off to the side and catches her and is sort of cradling her, and he sets her on the side of like another smaller tree as he just sort of kneels down for a moment. He takes like a breath to himself. Woad says, "This could be one of your chances to get closer."
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to sneak up.
Go ahead and make a stealth check.
Okay, that's good. 24.
24. As you sort of push forward, you slink from shadow to shadow in between the trees. Bits of moonlight and starlight permeate through the canopy above you, but you deftly move in and out, sort of just dancing between them, staying in the shadows. Light on your feet, only touching points on the forest floor, soft enough to hide the sounds of your footsteps. Nemesio, heavily breathing, just sort of takes a moment, and you see as you get closer, you sort of post up against another smaller tree as you sort of breathe in and very slowly breathe out and focus on your breath. You peer over the side. He's facing away from you at this point, just so that you're completely out of his point of view. And you can see he sort of slings a small little pouch in front of him, or you can at least see from the side as he slings it around and places it in front of him. He rummages through for a moment, and he pulls out something. You can't really tell what it is, but you notice him stop for a moment, and he holds it to his face, some item. You sort of pull back, just in case, for a moment, and you try to listen in and see as best you can. I'd like you to make another perception check, please.
I'm so good at those. 6.
Don't worry about it right now. Sorry? You said that?
6.
6.
It's bad.
As you sort of focus on your breath, you lean in, and instead of taking the chance to look, you just listen for a moment. And you begin to hear Nemesio's voice as he begins to say something. You hear, "Yes. Yes, Lord Wormer, I still have the girl. It may take some time. Give me a week."
Is Tyr Woad still right next to me?
Tyr Woad is sort of, you can see him directly across from you, just sort of arms crossed, leaning against a tree. Just sort of, you can see that there's like a shimmer about him. He's very, very calm. He's looking directly at you, not paying attention to what you're trying to pay attention to. But he's focused entirely on you.
How far away am I from Ophelia?
From Ophelia, I would say with that stealth check you got pretty close. Probably... Do you remember what you got on the perception check?
6.
6?
Yeah. The most recent one.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. With that, I would say you're probably 15 feet away.
Okay. And Nemesio's facing the other direction?
Nemesio is facing where he set Ophelia up. Nemesio is facing the other direction from you, but you were facing direct on towards Ophelia, who is sort of slumped against a tree.
Gotcha. Okay. Really quick.
Yes.
I'm going to sneak back over to where Tyr Woad is standing.
Okay.
I'm going to ask him something.
Sure.
Do you have a way for me to talk to Nemesio without him knowing where I am from a distance?
try something, yes, but right now, you might be a bit too close for comfort. Maybe watch for a little while longer, or take this opportunity to remove yourself from this sanctity. He cannot perceive me right now, only you can.
Oh.
But I'm afraid. Do what you will, but you might be too close. He is a confident man, but even he knows when to run, I can only assume. So, you might spook him, but you can always take that chance.
You gave me an idea. I have this... It's so silly. This deck of cards. It makes you see things that aren't really there. I wonder if I could throw something that would, I don't know, scare him away, so that he'd leave Ophelia behind.
That is honestly pretty funny. Maybe causing a distraction for a moment could separate them, but as far as I know, he's bound to her by blood contract, yes?
Yes.
I don't know if he would so easily give her up.
You're right. I have some crazy ideas, but I don't know if they work from this distance, like you said. But...
He sort of notices for a moment beyond you. Look. And he points just beyond you. And you turn and you see now Nemesio's sort of in the middle of laying things out in front of him. From what you can see, Woad sort of touches you on the back and says, "Be quiet." And he moves you along. Make another stealth check with advantage this time.
I'm so good at stealth. It's gonna go really well. Well, good thing. Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. As you move, he sort of shifts you to the side, to rightwards, to the point where you can still see Ophelia and her sort of visage to the left side of her face, her blonde hair sort of tattered in front of her. She's slumped over still. But you can see now the profile of Nemesio. As you can see, he's heavily sweating, like he's been working very hard lately, running with Ophelia over his shoulder, all these things. He seems rather stressed, and he's sort of frantically placing a handful of small trinkets in front of him, in a very similar fashion as to what you've seen Misha do. They're not clockwork trinkets by any means. They're all very crude. Go ahead and give me a perception check.
I will. Oh, if I could roll above a 4, that'd be great.
They're all rather crude. Uninteresting. You mark that he's doing something similar to Misha, but as soon as you sort of glance over, and they don't seem to be anything of interest. It's all just small, crude knickknacks or whatever, like little, not figurines even, just small little symbols made out of whatever. What he's doing is the more important thing, as he's sort of placing these 5 objects around him. He sort of sits out with his hands out, cross-legged, and he closes his eyes. And he begins to mutter in an incantation under his breath. And he stops for a moment. He takes a deep breath. And he breathes out. He looks around. He sort of cranes himself in your direction.
Okay.
Woad grabs your shoulder and pulls you back a little. You can see Nemesio just sort of fucking whispers. And he sets himself again. He continues the incantation.
Cousin, I know the woods have their own spirit, but he's trying to read something right now, to see the future, or could you suggest something to him? Make him think it's the world talking to him.
We can try. What would you like?
If we could tell him that it'd be better for his safety, ultimately, to leave Ophelia behind safe and sound. That'd be great.
All right. I will try. Watch him closely. And Woe just sort of gets down on a knee and just sort of, in almost like a, not necessarily on a knee, but like just sort of squats down and sets himself in a very like natural, almost primal sort of crouching stance. And he focuses his eyes and he mutters under his breath an elven incantation. And his eyes begin to glow a silver. And you see Nemesio, as he's finishing this incantation, sort of bits of shadow around his shoulders form and writhe. And it starts to coalesce in front of him in some sort of mass. And Woad sort of stops the incantation. I don't know if any form of my trickery would be able to fool him. He's contacting something, and it's coming. Look, what do you see? Make a perception check.
Oh my god. With advantage?
As Woad is sort of directing you.
Oh my god, it's a 5!
5. The sort of shadow mass starts to amalgamate and form itself into a humanoid form. You see not too long of limbs, very proud stature of some sort of humanoid figure. Its face obscured by the smoke. You can see little wisps of almost like a lavender here and there through the smoke. And you can see part of the head, two sort of oblong protrusions from the top that just sort of suggests the visage of either horns or a crown or something. You're uncertain. No features can really be ascertained out of this mass. It's really odd. But nevertheless, this shadow mass is there, and Nemesio seems to be very intently focused on this thing in front of him. And after a few moments, Nemesio just sort of nods his head. He begins to gather his trinkets, and as he does, the shadows dissipate against the ground. And as he gathers his trinkets, he sets them in a pouch to the side, and he... well, let us hope he is right again. And he gathers Ophelia and slings her over his shoulder. Fucking whispers. And he begins to trot forward into the woods again.
What do I do?
You can follow a little further if you'd like.
I have to.
Okay. Stay close. And he touches your back and moves you forward. And again, as you and Nemesio in front of you begin to walk through the wood for another few minutes, it's almost as if the trees around you pass by you rather than you passing by them. It's like everything in your vision just sort of moves away from where you are, and it never feels like you are the one moving forward. It feels like the world around you is moving past you, and like you and Nemesio are just always the same distance apart here. And as you walk what feels like only moments but must be longer, minutes, an hour perhaps, what feels like you stop after just moments, you notice that, again, you were in an entirely different part of the wood, as you were dead focused on the task at hand and the assailant and your lover before you. Seemingly out of nowhere, a large cliffside, wreathed in trees, reveals itself in front of you. The clearing of this wood sort of opens up into this giant sort of sheer cliff, at the top of which more of that grassland sort of crests over like a wave, all on top of it, wreathing it, just the remainder of the Whispering Wood trees just sort of touching the rim of the sky at this point. It's almost just as if you're caught in the midst of a great tidal wave, but made out of the earth. Like, it's as if the forest wants to swallow itself up. And embedded into this cliffside are two incredibly large iron doors with brass rings as handles. Go ahead and make another perception check.
Oh my god. What will I not perceive this time? 10!
10!
That's my highest perception
That
today!
is exactly what you needed to roll.
Thank you,
Amazing.
God. Oh.
As you see this image before you, you finally see Nemesio stop for a moment, just in front of these large, incredible doors. And you finally feel a moment to sort of get a little closer, and you do so. And once you get to a point where you're just about 10-ish feet away from him, hidden in the clearing of the woods, you hear him mutter the elven word, death, under his breath. The two large iron doors sort of creak as the brass handles lift themselves up and slam against the doors, and a sort of cacophonous ringing emanates from it, melodic almost, and the doors creak open, and Nemesio begins to walk forward before he passes through these doors and vanishes into the rooms beyond, before closing silently and unnaturally quickly behind him. These doors shut, and you can see there are scrawlings of different designs and patterns all around this door, until in the middle you see some sort of unintelligible script in the middle of this door, arranged like a sentence in Elven, but it makes no sense to you. You can't even ascertain anything. It's just weird scrawlings that look like Elvish. It doesn't make much sense to you.
It's not some, quirk on the language like thieves can't or something.
Make an insight check.
I will. It's okay. It's 12.
12. You think for a moment, and it's not necessarily double speech like thieves can't, but it definitely seems like some sort of a, maybe not a code, but perhaps if you spent time rearranging things, or you're uncertain. You've seen magic users like Misha and Lux sort of utter incantations and been able to ascertain all sorts of languages and whatnot. Maybe magic is the key here. You're uncertain. You know Nemesio is some sort of wielder of some type of magic. But right now it's unintelligible to you. Your cousin sort of approaches you on your right side, and he just sort of looks at the two large doors, and he says, "Well, I didn't think that they would reveal themselves to you this quickly.
They?
These are the Eternal Halls."
Now, wait a second. That can't be right.
Why ever not?
How are we here?
Well, we are here because they want us to be here. They only reveal themselves when they want.
What could they possibly want? We're supposed to follow them inside?
I would advise against that.
Well,
I'm not going in there. It's beyond my... well, scholars, theorists, those are the ancient ways in the time of eternity, and there was much, much more time to sit and think and to write and to theorize and to study. That is what is housed beyond those doors. I'm a practitioner of the world. I am connected to these woods, to the earth under them and the skies above them. The arcane is not necessarily something that I can wrap my head around, but the wind and what it has to say, I'll gladly listen to. No, I would suggest returning to your friends, bringing them here.
how will I find my way back?
Now that they've revealed themselves to you, they will not rest until they have you. Be wary. They don't necessarily seek to keep you, as far as I've been told, but they yearn to be discovered.
People can come out once they've been inside.
Yes, they can. Be sure not to bring anything with you. At least nothing off the shelves. That's what all the folktales say.
Okay. Before we go back, I want to take out like a piece of paper or something from my bag, and how big is the script on the door? Is it really big?
It's not like really big, no. It's more like, it's about like, I don't know, what is this, 3 feet?
Perfect.
Sure, like
That's
a 3 foot by sort of,
wonderful.
yeah, I don't know.
Ah.
Sure, I don't know what the fuck, it's mythical 3 feet.
The customary system.
This is 3 feet in my world.
Okay.
No, fuck you.
Perfect. I would like to take a piece of paper, and I want to trace the
Sure.
letters that I see, just
Sure.
so I can
You
take
do
this
so.
back and show it to my friends.
Yeah, you do so.
Okay. And I can't hear anything from inside the building, right?
Oh, I don't think so. These iron doors probably would prevent that. You can certainly try if you'd like.
There's no chimneys.
It's not in a cliffside.
I figured not. But I don't see any other entrances, do I?
No.
He said a week. So what's he stopping in here for?
Well, I'm uncertain. That ritual that he performed, I'm sure gave him some sort of insight. The Eternal Halls house many, many ancient artifacts, bits of knowledge. Your companion, Misha, I'm sure he'd have a field day in there. I'm sure whatever he ascertained from whoever he spoke to brought him here, or at least allowed him to be exposed to the halls. They wouldn't have made themselves known to him if that wasn't the case.
Gee, I wish these forces of nature could pick a side once in a while.
Nature is a tempest, cousin. There are no sides. There is only the majesty around us.
Won't someone inside notice that there's a guy lugging an unconscious woman around? Won't they call somebody?
If there is anyone inside to notice, sure. These halls have not been traversed in millennia. At least, that's as far as I know. I've never stepped foot in there, certainly. I've heard stories of master thieves making it their lives' purpose to break into the halls and steal something or whatnot. Never really heard of anyone making it not necessarily out alive. I've heard of that, but they don't tend to last too long once they make it out.
What do you mean?
The halls always seek to keep what they hold within them. So thieves who take from suffer the consequences.
Right. Okay. Well, it's Misha who will have to stop from stealing.
Well, I would warn him of the situation then.
We should go now. We should go get everyone right now.
Back now?
Don't you think?
Sure.
I
just
can't.
want you to make sure that you are making a decision that you wouldn't regret. I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is perhaps a moment of reflection before you make any sudden moves. I do think you should go back to your friends. Rally them. See if they're all right. And move forward. Think, cousin.
But you do have a way that I could talk to Nemesia.
Yes. Yes, I do.
Are there limits on what I could say?
25 words.
Only once?
For now.
Could he respond? Or see where I was?
You wouldn't be able to see where you are. You don't have to stick around for him to respond to you.
Okay. I have an idea,
Alright.
but I want to wait. Just until I'm back with my friends.
Alright. Then here. And he just sort of places his hand on your shoulder, and he takes his two fingers and touches your forehead, and he closes his eyes, and he mutters an incantation under his breath, and you feel a sort of, not necessarily piercing, but almost as if a veil sort of is placed over your head. And a bit of essence almost sort of washes over you. And he ceases his incantation, and you feel, just in the back of your mind, a small little presence. Not of an entity or anything, just a little thing in the back of your head. And he says, I've imbued you with my natural ability. It can only last so long, so once you get back to your friends, you may have just about an hour or so before it would just sort of dissipate by itself. But if you take a moment, you can have your words with Nemesia.
Perfect. Thank you. You're a really good family member.
I try my best. Now, shall we away?
Yes.
Alright. And he sort of turns, and behind the tree that you two were sort of stood just outside of, he places his hand on it once more. And this smaller tree cracks open and splits. Instead of just a door forming in the trunk of the tree itself almost shifts where its roots are and opens up into almost like a wishbone sort of shape. And that same bit of green and brown essence sort of starts to coalesce around it. And that sort of tree natural portal sort of opens up in front of you. And he sort of just holds his hand out and he says, I will not be following you this time.
How will I find you again?
I'll be around. I've things to attend to. I am a sovereign of the Tenlands, don't you know?
Right. If I can ever return a favor for you, please tell me.
I will.
Thank you.
It is my pleasure.
I step in the tree.
And we will end our little mini one-on-one there. Well done, Jenna.
Oh fuck!
That was awesome. Perfect. With like about 5 minutes to spare.
Move to be right back.
Not yet. Just give me 1 second. First of all, well done on that. If you are still tuning in, thank you very much for joining us for this sort of little mini one-on-one. We are going to be going offline just for about half hour-ish. Just about then, we're going to be jumping back in here at 6:30 with our usual campaign episode, episode 5 for sure. And we will have the entirety of the cast here in studio too, which will be super fun. So we're going to get ourselves set up for that. Enjoy a nice little break, drink some water, you know, get a little stretch in and whatnot. And hopefully we will see you back here very soon. So thank you very much, and we'll see you in just about a half hour or so. So take care. And then we can go end stream.